everybody, welcome to High Quality Fun Podcast. Today we have Levin and Tilden on. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. I caught wind of these guys by listening to a different podcast called The Dirtbag Diaries, and I just kind of enjoyed the stories they were telling. It seemed like they were really into mountain biking and probably had some good stories to tell about all their adventures and everything that they've done. If you guys just want to dive right in and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got into mountain biking, who you guys are, and we'll go from there.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm Levin. I sort of randomly started mountain biking. Me and a high school buddy I don't even know how we came on this idea, just to save up our money and buy mountain bikes randomly one summer as like freshmen. So yeah, then we ended up working like 70-hour weeks through the summer, and by the end of all that, I was finally able to afford a $2,000 mountain bike and sort of been off to the races ever since then. I swear to God, I've never worked that much in my life since.
I'm Tilden. I got into mountain biking kind of just through Levin. I'm always a little bit more lazy, and so it didn't ever interest me as much, but I ended up getting his bike that he bought. Inherited it. And then sort of rode that around, and that was kind of my intro. So I sort of magic carpet free rided my way into it and didn't have to work. So it's a little bit easier for me.
And I don't think I mentioned this, but you two are brothers. What is the age difference between you two?
It's 5 years, but we unfortunately get mistaken for twins. He's 5 years older.
I takes it as a win.
But yeah, the son has done horrible things to me.
No, but I'm aging like fine wine.
Well, whatever.
I wasn't going to say it, but you already said it. Why did you? So right off the bat, like when I first got my first mountain bike, aside from the Walmart special that you get growing up, I was such a cheapskate that I just went to the mountain bike store and picked out a $500 machine that they had. It was like one step down from the bikes that had the disc brakes. So I still had the drum brakes, and I really wish I wasn't such a cheapskate and spent the extra $60 to get the disc brakes. I'm still riding with it today, but I've busted like an axle. I've had to get like new chain gears and everything on it. And I'm not riding near as hard as you guys are out in Colorado, but yeah, like how did you go from zero to just a $2,000 bike?
I pretty much just went in there and was like, what's your cheapest full suspension bike? And then lied about my age to work at this cafeteria on campus. We mowed lawns all around the neighborhood, like just went nuts. And I didn't have any sort of other obligations as to where my money went. So yeah, after a whole summer, I was finally able to just buy it. But then I had no money to maintain it. So you buy an expensive bike and you're like, oh yeah, this thing's going to last forever. No, it turns out those parts wear out pretty quick. And I never fixed anything. By the time that Tilden got it, I'd like wore through the forks, like the stanchions had completely worn through. The chain was probably like 8 years old at that point, having just been hammered flat. Like it was bad. Really a bike shop's worst nightmare.
I feel like, I've spent more money in repairs on mine that I'm just going to replace every part one by one until it's a brand new bike.
Yeah. That's pretty much what happened to that bike, I'd say.
Yeah. Handlebars, forks.
Yeah, it got new pretty much everything at some point in its life, and it still got destroyed. But
it was Squirtin' Betty by the end.
That was its nickname, because all the chocks, every time you push them down, a little bit of oil would squirt out. And all the rebound dampers were blown. It was kind of like a pogo stick. It was a pretty fun bike, but it was pretty hammered.
I love it. So yeah, I mean, you guys got lots of stories. Where do you want to start? I want to listen and laugh along, and hopefully the listeners will get a kick out of some of your adventures.
Shoot. Yeah, on the other podcast, we talked about sort of our origins. We rode bikes a lot before, and then we started on tandems pretty much, on like road bike tandems. And Tilden and I were on the same tandem, and we'd do these trips around Wyoming, the tour to Wyoming. And yeah, so I was like 12, Tilton's like 7, and we're just rocking around on the highways on this tandem over a bunch of passes. It was brutally hard. And
yeah, we would do like, the tour was 60 to 100 miles a day, and the two of us were doing every day like that, which I thought was a lot of riding for a little child.
And we still had our regular battles too, like young sibling battles on a tandem on the highway.
Yeah,
I remember I clocked you in the head or something. You were talking back.
yeah. Yeah,
I've always joked with my wife that, you know, if you can survive a race on a tandem bike, you know, that's like marriage therapy.
Shoot, or the first step towards a divorce.
Either survive or you're done. That or like a canoe.
We'd always buy the tandems off Craigslist, and it was always from people who'd gotten divorced. It was probably not the marriage saving instrument that people expected it to be.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it seemed to work pretty well for us for the most part, though, because we were able to, I guess, get past our differences. We both knew that not just one of us was going to be able to pedal it to the end, so we'd come together and make it work, I guess. And
yeah,
I think it helped kind of build the relationship between the two of us a little bit. So we know, I don't know, you can kind of count on one another a little, I guess. Maybe you don't feel that way, but
no, there's definitely a huge amount of trust in it, because like I was always in the front because I was older, and the front of the tandem's always bigger. And at least I enjoyed the downhills down the big mountain passes. So it was just like completely go the brakes and see how fast we could go. My goal was to hit 70 miles an hour. We actually only managed like 68, I think. But
well, our dad made the mistake of putting a speedometer on the tandem. So then Levin was like, "Oh, let's see how fast we can go." If he hadn't have seen it, there wouldn't have been a goal.
Yeah, I would have just claimed we hit 70.
Right. So
that's what it's like with a snowmobile. You get ripping on a snowmobile, you're like, well, I just want to touch 100. Okay, I don't ever have to do that again. That was too much.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're probably right with the trust on that one, because I remember in the back being horrified because we'd be coming around turns. The one that I remember distinctly is coming around this corner, and there's a minivan coming down the pass doing maybe like 45 or something, and we were
way too slow.
Yeah, they were going way too slow. And I remember just thinking, oh my goodness, we're gonna die. And Levin just whips out double yellow, passes him.
But statute of limitations.
It's passed. And past the van in the double yellow, the whole 9 yards. And I remember being horrified and unzipping my jacket and thinking, like dragster style, if I could undo a parachute with my jacket and let it flap in the wind, it would slow us down enough, but it didn't do anything. And then, as I remember, you yelled at me for it and said, "Bud, quit flapping around back there."
Well, he was slowing us down. It made the pass take way longer. It was way more dangerous.
Yeah.
It's probably why you didn't hit that 70-mile marker.
Oh, don't bring that up. No,
and this is all like when you're growing up. I was looking at your page earlier today, and it looks like you still are doing some tandem stuff today. I don't know, like, how is that? Are you taking those through the mountain bike trails and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of relived the childhood tandem moments a while ago, and then there's a new trail that got built down here that a couple of our other friends went and rode first, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know, guys, you probably aren't going to like it." And
then everyone else in the state was like, "Oh, you'll love this trail. It's like the greatest thing to ever happen."
Yeah, and so we were like, "Well, I don't know. It's probably going to be not very good, but we'll buy a tandem and ride it on the tandem because then it'll be fun." And so it's kind of just a spur of the moment thing that we got this tandem It's a beach cruiser with V brakes and giant bullhorn bars or whatever they're called.
Yeah. So it's got like 7 gears. It's like the cheapest gearing that you could possibly have. It's meant for beaches.
Yeah, it's meant for just cruising and not really anything. So we started testing it out in the street in front of our house on a dirt bike ramp and a bunch of cinder blocks to see if we could jump it. And it
held up great.
Yeah, it passed with flying colors.
Yeah.
Except we had to right off the bat tear the fenders off.
Yeah.
Because they got bent. And then so we figured it was ready for trail action. And then we made it about maybe a quarter of a mile up the trail and hit one of the chain rings on a rock or something. And
we just folded from the power.
Anyway, the chain ring just folded directly in half.
Like a soft taco, just completely done.
So we ended up having to run the tandem to the top of the trail and then chainless ride it down to the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
And then
did you say it was handbrakes, right? It wasn't like a reverse brake?
No, we opted not for the kickback brake. We didn't want the coaster brake.
Yeah.
We knew it didn't have the power.
Yeah.
And this was my first ride back after a broken back.
That's true. Yeah, I figured I'd lead him in nice and easy.
Yeah,
with
it was
a good little safe kind of thing.
Nice, calming return to mountain biking. Most scared
he had to
bike in years.
He had to get the tandem so that he could make sure you were safe.
Exactly, yeah, because he's kind of prone to taking risks that are above his skill level. So I figured I'd keep him on the rails,
That's good. That's good. It's a good brother.
Yeah. Yeah. And that one we switched up who was in charge of the controls, which was nice for me, finally. Yeah. But it was a pretty entertaining thing. So unfortunately,
how many miles was it if you broke that gear in the first mile? How far did you go, or you're running this thing up hills to finish the day out?
Dude, it was like 2.5 up. Probably that we ran this stupid tandem up to the top of this trail, and then it was like a 3-mile descent or something, and then we had to run it all. We had to park super far away because it's a way popular trail, so we had to park on the highway like 2 miles away from the end of this trail.
I'd say we probably ended up running with the tandem about 5 miles that day.
Easy.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like a real start of a bobsled run sort of affair too, because both of us are pushing this tandem up the trail.
Yeah, and when we would get going too, we'd kind of take a couple of runs and then jump on the tandem so we'd have enough momentum to try and coast it as far as we could.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was quite tired after that one.
I felt the rhythm and the run. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's fantastic. Are you gonna keep doing the tandem, or is that just like a once in a?
Well, we still own the tandem. However, the amount of parts that broke on it has gotten pretty expensive for what either of us want to spend on it right now. So it might be a springtime thing before the tandem resurfaces.
Yeah.
We need all new cranks and gears, and we tore the derailleur off of it. Like it's pretty well hammered after one 5-mile venture.
Yeah.
You might as well just keep the frame and convert it to a full-on mountain bike.
Yeah, we do. We should put a fork on it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great introduction to this. I don't even know what. Tell me some more stories. This is fantastic.
Your little whitefish venture.
Yeah. Okay. So, fast forwarding or rewinding, I'm not sure which way.
That's a rewind.
Rewind from the newest tandem. Fast forward from when we were children tandeming. I had kind of gotten into mountain biking a little bit, and we decided Levin had been racing a lot. I hadn't really raced much. And we were like, oh, we'll go to Whitefish up in Montana to do this enduro race.
And it was coincided with meeting your girlfriend at the time, parents and everything.
Yeah, it was the first time I was going to meet her parents.
Man
so
was a general.
yeah, he's a general in the Army, so I was feeling a fair amount of pressure. So
You brought your brother along to make it easier, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we went and did this race, and did we do a course? Yeah, I think we rode some of the course before.
No, we rode none of it.
No, none of it.
Because we showed up way late.
Okay,
we got there way late at night.
All
We
right.
camped in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then we showed up. The only bit of the course that we saw was when we were looking off the first stage, like down the first rock garden.
Yeah. So
how many miles was this course? It was all mountain bike, right?
Yeah. He
okay.
took off
How long?
in front, and then I was a couple riders back in the start order, and I made it through a good 300 feet of trail, and then fell down into what we call El Kniferino, which was just a ton of very sharp rocks, and gouged my leg entirely open. You could see my kneecap hanging through the flap of skin on my knee. It was pretty bad.
We're always prepared for these type of events because neither of us use mountain bike gear. I ride in basketball shorts. Tilden was in rugby shorts and like t-shirts. So every possible scrape is just completely visible and unprotected from anything as you're going into the ground.
So yeah, I crashed and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of just part of that's just, that's racing. What are you gonna do about it? And then I got down to the second stage, and Levin was there waiting, and he looks at me, good God, man, what happened to you? And I said, well, I crashed in the first corner. What do you want me to do? And I'm bleeding everywhere. He's like, all right, well, whatever, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be good. And then about another 200 feet into the second stage.
Well, we had to pedal up through that huge rainstorm, too. Like, it's just pouring rain. We had to pedal all the way to the top of the downhill ski area, which is like, I don't know, a 2,500 foot climb or something. Like, you're just sort of chilling, but because it's not part of the race. But it's just lightning's going off. They like shut the race down. We're all like huddled under the chairlift trying to get out of the rain and hail and things that are just going on. Tilden's bleeding everywhere. And we just hit to the top, and we got to sit out there, and it's like, I don't know, 33 degrees.
Yeah, it was pretty cold.
Super windy and pouring rain. Yeah, and then
so then in the second stage, Levin took off again, and I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it together, kind of
nice and mellow.
Nice, keep it mellow. Got it in there, did not keep it mellow. Immediately got a flat. And ended up having to run all the way down to the base area because I didn't have any tubes, and I was too stubborn to ask anybody for tubes. And so I think I got last, but
no, you didn't.
Well, it couldn't have been good. It took me ages to run down the mountain.
That was ridiculous. I waited there so long.
Yeah, and other than that, I think I made it through the rest of the race, but.
Yeah. But then showed up at the general's house with like bandages and bloody carpets draped all over him. It was insane.
Yeah. So we had that, and my girlfriend's parents were shocked at best at the state of us, me. And then they were like, wow, you guys are pretty extreme, huh? And I was like, oh, I don't know. No, not that bad. But then I had a dirt bike race in the morning. And so I packed all the scabs and everything into all the pads. And then same thing, first corner, crashed again and tore all the scabs back off.
God.
turned back up at the house all covered in more mud and scabs. It was terrible. But
sounds like you're just getting a little too excited out the gate every single time.
yeah, I can't. I can't. Well, that's why I quit racing.
It was overly stimulating for everyone.
Yeah.
So you guys don't really do a lot of racing anymore. You just do not casual, but you just do trail rides around Colorado, or do you travel at all still?
Yeah, we do a lot around Colorado. I mean, we both got to still work all the time, unfortunately. But yeah, we go to Utah. We got to get something sorted out for Canada or something next summer, but we do a ton in Moab. And so, yeah, we typically try to go to Moab at least twice a year, something like that. And yeah, Moab's its own ridiculous thing. Seems to just work for both Tilden and I when our bikes hold themselves together. But yeah, Moab's just one of the greatest places you can ever go on a bike.
No.
I've been in Michigan where I went to college. They had some pretty good mountain biking. I actually lived in Kentucky for a while for work, and Louisville has like a really, really great mountain biking trail system down there. I didn't get to check out a ton, but I remember going just like, being walking distance from my apartment to the mountain bike system down there, and that being just awesome. No bonkers stories that come to mind. Maybe one will hit me in the face later. And then I guess recently I went out to Arkansas and got to ride what was the trail system out there?
Bentonville.
Yes, Bentonville, that's what it was. We just got to go for like a few hours, but it was really cool to see all the freaking ramps and bends and everything that they had building, all the new trails they were putting up here and there. But I guess that's just been like happenstance that I've been through all these locations where it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of actual travel to get to these spots. You just mentioned Moab, and you mentioned like in our pre-interview, like a Mag 7 race that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we've well, there's a good long ride there that I think I'd done alone, or I'd done with some buddies the year before. And so I was like, well, we might as well tour the hard part, might as well see what Portal is like, which is like this trail just right on the edge of a cliff for a good lot of it. The bit on the edge of the cliff is not that hard to do. Like, it's not that technical in most of the spots. And then where it gets really hard is like down below where your exposure is gone. But the exposure at the start is definitely no joke. So we figured we'd go do a warm-up run on that before we did the whole Mag 7 to end on Portal the next day. So we went up this Jeep road that's like 10 miles of just ridiculous sand. It's like we should have taken the beach cruiser tandem on it because it would have handled the sand better. And then you climb up these outrageously steep Jeep rocks to get to the top. And I don't know, I think I hiked up something to go try to ride down some other rock, and I see Tilden like way off in the distance with his back wheel off, like banging on it with a rock or something. Turns out that by the time I got back there, he pulled his complete rear hub apart, and his free hub had just disintegrated. It just fell apart in pieces. All the ratchets, everything was just lying on this rock, ruined. And we're like still like 3 or 4 miles from the trailhead to where we can even get down to the car again. So yeah, Tilden pretty much demoed his bike there. You bought some cheap Bronson or something?
Yeah, I opted for the cheap model, and the free hub none of the parts were able to withstand the.
I can't believe you even went for the cheap. I got you a pro deal on that one.
Well, can't work them all, bud. Yeah, so that was the warm up, broke the bike, and then rode down Portal chainless and running, I guess.
Yeah, we're used to running bikes around.
Yeah, it's a theme. And then I think that was the same. That hub was notorious for breaking, so we went around at like every bike shop in town, could not find another hub, so I ended up renting the bike from one of the shops, and that was at a small side note, but it was at this time when Levin was experimenting with shoes, and we're covered in dirt from camping, very dirty, and Levin had forgotten his shoes at the campsite. And the little sign on the thing is no shirt, no shoes, no service. I'm like, God dang it, buddy, I need you to come in and help me get this bike. So he's like, oh, here, rummages around in the back of the truck and pulls on some gardening gloves onto his feet. And then flips into the shop with the little gloves. And so right off the bat, these poor bike shop people are like, oh, dear God, what kind of desert trash we got going on here? So we managed to convince him to rent me a bike and not him.
Yeah.
And then I thought it would be funny to tell him that I was 140 pounds because I had bought the insurance package on the bike.
Visibly
Visibly
verging on 200.
Yeah, not 140. And my rationale was that the suspension would be much more plush. So they pumped it up for 140 and then very cautiously gave us the bike.
Yeah, they were not happy about giving us
Not happy about the bike. With good reason. Anyway, so then we went and rode the Mag 7 then, which is, it's like...
No, we went back to camp and just went nuts with that bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so then we decided to kind of stress test it because companies don't do that well enough. So
yeah, you're never sure what rental bike will hold up and who's ridden it before and how hard.
So we figured that the both of us on there would be a good idea. So we rode it through a couple of ditches with one of us sitting on the handlebars.
Yeah.
And then over a picnic table.
Yeah.
All sorts of things to, kind of just break it in, make sure that everything was working.
Yeah.
Which it did.
It handled that magnificently.
Yeah.
Are you guys always camping? Are you guys always camping when you're going on these trips?
Yeah.
And is it just you two, or are you guys bringing other people along?
That one was
just us.
Oh, and your girlfriend too.
Yeah, she came down later.
She was there for the Mag 7? She showed up that night or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys actually drive out there and haul your bike, and then just are you doing like BLM camping, or are you getting campgrounds or what?
No, we just BLM camp it.
Yeah.
You got to keep the certain amount of dirt on the skin. Then you don't have to pay as much for sunscreen.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to buy mountain biking gear. You can just use that as protection when you throw yourself off.
Exactly. Yeah.
That armoring.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure you guys have a bunch of good stories about sitting around the campfire. I mean, we're big campers. We just bought a pop-up because before that we were doing a big old tent camp that we've hauled around the United States and have done a lot of BLM camping. So I love that. But yeah, go ahead and finish your story.
Yeah, so we got done stress testing the bike and then took it to Mag 7, which is it's what Levin has explained earlier, but it's like, I think it's 17 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
You kind of follow along the top of the mesa, and then the last trail, you drop down the cliff edge and back to the truck. And in my usual fashion, completely unprepared, wearing rugby shorts, and on the bike with the shocks pumped up for a small child. And so it started out, and I was like, man, this bike is kind of riding pretty low, because I kept hitting my pedals on a lot of rocks that it should have missed. And it was starting to frustrate me a little bit here and there.
A little bit.
A lot. And then I bonked, completely ran out of food because I'm pretty sure I just brought whatever would fit in my pockets.
Yeah.
And completely out of energy about halfway through, and pedal struck going down this little ledge and flipped over the handlebars and into a perfectly body-sized patch of cactus.
No, it wasn't even body size. That was like the size of Connecticut. Just this gigantic patch of prickly pear cactus. This man in his rugby shorts and his cutoff shirt is writhing around in this bed of cactus, completely filled with spines. Like, by the time he manages to get out of there, we spent like upwards of an hour plucking spines out of you until the sun had like basically set.
Yeah. So my clothes at that point had become unwearable because they were completely filled up with cactus. And I was still, what we ended up doing, I couldn't actually pull enough of the spines out because there were, he's not kidding, millions of them.
It was, the man looked like a porcupine.
And I took, I think it was, someone had a knife, but I ended up taking a knife and just scraping as much of the like long ends of them off as I could, so that then just the tips were buried in my skin. And that was manageable to ride the next 6-7 miles out.
Oh gosh.
More than that.
And it's
Something like
dark
that.
at this point.
What's that?
Did you say it's dark at this point?
Yeah, it was like March, so the sun had like was barely still peeking over the horizon on canyon lanes.
Yeah.
And we
Did
hit
you
it.
have lights and everything for this ride?
Oh, absolutely
God, no.
not.
No, we planned on this being a pretty short little romp.
Yeah.
We buried your shorts and shirt and gloves out there. We visit it every time we go past. It's like a absolute snack landmark that we got to take every time.
Yeah.
And drum up the old shorts and shit.
Yeah. So I ended up riding the next 8 miles out wearing my underpants
And Katie's
and
t-shirt.
Katie's t-shirt, which
She's
was
like 5'1".
yeah, it was like a little belly shirt. And ended up riding out on Portal on this horrible bike that kept pedal striking. And by the time I got there, I was furious with all the cactus, the underpants, the darkness, and everything. And we got to the most technical part of Portal, and it pedal struck for its final time.
Oh, I was down below this because you always got to make sure that, the person's honest if they cleared the section or not. And so I'm waiting at the bottom of this, and I just hear the pedal grinding on the rocks, and then just the yell down the canyon of "fuck," and then I just see the bike come tomahawking down the rock pile, and Dylan's running after it. It's like almost pitch black too. Like you can't see whatever you're about to hit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I think he thought I had crashed, but I was so furious that pedal struck about made me crash until I took the bike and drop kicked it down the rest of the rocks so I wouldn't have to ride it. Luckily, it survived the fall with no scratches.
I can't believe that.
Nothing was broken. I have no idea how it happened.
That's world's most durable bike. Transition Patrol.
Yeah. So if you want a good bike, that's a good one.
I'm not saying good, but
Durable.
one that won't break.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the Mag 7 story.
We rounded it out, and we returned the bike, and we were in the shop like returning it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys actually like did a pretty good job not damaging it and like stuff like that." We were like, "Oh yeah." And they're like, "Yeah, most of the damage we see on our rental bikes is like people are leaning it up on trees and it falls over." I just like the whole time got this image of this bike just sailing off this rock garden into just a huge pile of rocks. Like, ain't no bike that's ever been leaned up against a tree took a tumble like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Were you more excited or pissed that you didn't get to capitalize on the insurance you bought?
I don't really like explaining things to people. And,
well, we didn't know the tree excuse either.
Yeah. And then what happened here? And I don't want to have to tell them, well, I was riding down Portal in the pitch black in my underpants and it pissed me off for the final time. I don't know if there's a good way of going about, like, you know,
no papering over that.
Yeah, no covering that one up. Oh, yeah. What, it fell off the truck onto the highway?
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Was it just bottoming out because you were too heavy for the bike? Is that why you were pedal striking the whole time?
I think so.
No, it's a combination of
For the longest time, I blamed the bike manufacturer.
This relevation, whatever, has been in the last couple months too.
Yeah, because they do actually have a low bottom bracket, so it would make the pedals more likely to hit.
Yeah.
But I would say it's probably more of a factor that I was riding at like 60% sag when you're supposed to be at 25 or 30.
Lessons learned, man. That's unreal. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine how much pain you were in riding with those cactus in you.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah, it was. Because, then I was like, I forgot all this. But we went to the city market or whatever. And I was like, all right, we're getting tape and a multi-pack of tweezers.
Yeah.
And tried for a good hour to try and pluck all of the
hour. That was until like midnight.
Tried to pluck all the spines out, and there was no having that. And so
we got like 3 rolls of duct tape on him. We basically Brazilian waxed his entire body with duct tape.
It didn't work at all, though, really.
No,
because I was just covered in them. And then I remember like the pain kind of went away after about a day. I think the venom in the spikes or whatever goes away, but none of the spikes were out. And then I remember being at work like a couple of weeks after and having kind of forgotten about it, and then squeezing my leg and seeing all the spines kind of come out of my leg a little bit. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got a bunch of cactus spines. And so I could take my entire leg and kind of pop the whole thing like a zip. And then scrape the spines out, and that's how they finally ended up coming out. But it was so many. They were all in my back and arms and everywhere. And I, put something on, and you'd feel another one that you had missed. And yeah, it was pretty miserable. But
how far deep and like, I don't remember. Did you say that the cactus patch he was in was the size of Connecticut? So you were literally in the cactuses.
By the time where he landed it's like a good solid 2 feet within the perimeter of this thing, and there to this day there's still a body print of dead cactuses.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was.
And you still decide to keep biking, man. Good for you.
Yeah, I love it.
We learned at young ages that if you got hurt, you had to sort of get yourself out. I had one, I was just riding around with my friends in Laramie at the time, and my front wheel popped going off the curb or something, and I just took this huge nosedive into a brand new chip and sealed parking lot. So I had just these gigantic gouges on the side of my arm with all the like fresh gravel in it. And I forget, I just like limped to Sonic or something because my friends were like, well, we want milkshakes. So I called them from the Sonic phone because I didn't have a cell phone then or something. And my mom was like, well, why don't you just walk home? So then pretty much had to extract myself from there. Then Meg went at my arm with a toothbrush trying to get the rocks out of it. So yeah, we've had our fair share of medical issues with this, but you sort of just got to get yourself out of there.
You mentioned at the start that you just recovered from a broken back. Was that bike related or something else?
It's unconclusive. I was on a bike, but I either got hit by a car or just like randomly passed out or something in the street. I'm leaning into the car thing because it helps me think that I won't just pass out again. But yeah, I just like woke up in the hospital and was like, I should be at work. Why am I here? And then they're like, no, don't move. Your back's broken. I was like, oh, great. That's fantastic. So yeah, that was.
So you were biking, and then you pretty much just woke up, and that's like the gist of it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
he was
God.
just biking to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weren't even doing anything cool.
No, it was just on a town bike. It was the lamest, stupidest thing that you could do.
I have a story that's like, I don't know, that just comes to mind with us. One of my buddies, we used to live in Detroit because like after college, we were like, okay, well, college is very social. Let's move down to the city. You know, it's more social down there than going and living in the country. And anyways, he was running in Detroit and pretty much was running and then got smoked by a van and just like, you know, came to on the pavement and they rushed him off to the hospital. He gave me a phone call. I don't know why I was his emergency contact, but he's just like, hey man, what are you up to? You want to come to the hospital? I was like, sure, we'll be there in a half an hour. And yeah, like I go in there and he's in a neck brace. He's got road rash down to his bone, like on like one whole side of his body. And I don't remember if this was, they didn't let me and my wife, we were dating at the time, they didn't let us both back there at the same time. So I went back there to say hi and talk to him, see how he was doing, and then left. And she came in and he just laid there like, you know, totally as messed up as he possibly could. And she took one look at him and was like, oh my God, Chapin, what's going on? But yeah, that he's fully recovered now. But that's like, I don't know, that's the only story that comes to mind about getting smoked by a car. I'm glad you're okay.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it was actually pretty lucky, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing really happened. Knocked out for a bit and then woke up with a broken back, but it healed. It healed fine, it seems. It was just a compression fracture, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, you're at risk of getting paralyzed, or I guess I don't really know. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, it seemed like it wasn't that major. Couple broken ribs and a broken back.
Ooh, ribs are bad.
Yeah. The ribs are the worst. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've broken a rib or two in like a car accident, and yeah, I never got it checked out. I just remember it hurting to breathe for a while.
Yeah.
But
anytime you laugh or sneeze or anything, you're just like, I want to die now.
It doesn't seem like you guys laugh a lot, so that was probably really easy for you.
Yeah, it was super easy month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you both are like beating the shit out of yourselves and your bikes. I mean, I was about to say you never hurt yourself, but then you mentioned that, and I was like, oh, okay. They're both beating the hell out of themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've had, well, both of us have had some unlucky run-ins with the hospitals and broken bones and stuff. I got rode over by 3 dirt bikes in a race. That broke a bunch of ribs, and then it was like the next weekend we went to Moab, and then I tried to go up some cliff on the dirt bike and just fell off straight after it. Bunch of broken ribs. I laid around for so long after that Moab trip. Oh my God. Yeah. You heal.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, you know. You gotta, I don't know, you'll get hurt from time to time and it's miserable, and then you just, yeah, you heal. You'll get better.
Yeah, pain's the easiest thing to forget.
Yeah.
It's just some forced time off. Do you guys do dirt bike racing then? You've both mentioned dirt biking in this.
Yeah, not so much anymore.
Yeah, I sort of taking a hiatus.
Yeah, used to a little bit more, but not so much anymore.
Yeah. Slowed down, mostly just do the mountain bikes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're going out and breaking a $2,000 bike every time you ride, it's I can't imagine how expensive that'd get on a mountain or a dirt bike.
Oh my God.
It's got to be pretty similar.
No way.
I don't know, because the mountain bikes are way more fragile.
It seems like they break way less though. Like the dirt bike, you're always doing oil changes.
That's not breaking.
Handlebars and plastics and the whole 9 yards, foot pegs. It's out of control.
Yeah.
Exhaust pipes and engines, stupid air filters.
I think the point here is that maybe the injuries are catching up.
Yeah, the injuries might have caught up. So I think we've partially slowed on the dirt bike just because of how much I got hurt a ton on the dirt bike. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Mountain bikes, they're more fun too.
A little more nimble.
Yeah, I think you can go a lot more places with them, like as far as accessibility, so you can go a lot more places. You can, I don't know.
You can ride through town, so like we can just ride from our house and hit a couple trails straight out of the house. Whereas dirt bike, you got to load everything up, drive somewhere.
Well, I lived in Detroit, like I said, for a little while, and they drive dirt bikes through the street all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we aren't good enough to wheelie them like that, so we can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think that stops them either. And now I live on a dirt road, and I ride them up and down there all the time. So I'm calling bullshit.
Do you ride dirt bike then?
I don't have a dirt bike. We have a 4-wheeler that we ride around quite a bit, but no, I don't have a dirt bike.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That'll be your next sport.
Well, I guess we did do this. We rented dirt bikes and went down to Costa Rica and toured Costa Rica, and that was badass. But
whoa,
that story is funny in itself because like we had both grown up riding dirt bikes and then we hadn't touched them in I don't even know 10 years. So we had to convince this bike shop like, hey, let us rent our bike. Yeah, we can ride them, sure. And then we just like hop on the bikes and ride out of the city that we're in, pretty much trying to remember how to navigate this thing with all our gear on our back. And the guy just kind of waves us on. I guarantee he went back to his boss, was like, yeah, we should have never done that. They're going to die. And found out later in the trip that the road that we started on was like the most dangerous road in Costa Rica. And it was raining, of course. It was Costa Rica.
Nice.
And like, I don't know, within the first hour, my wife almost threw herself into oncoming traffic. So that was like a massive, awesome dirt bike experience. And ever since then, I'm like, I fucking want an enduro so bad. We did a podcast on that episode. If you guys want to hear the whole story, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Definitely got to find that one. You're gonna have to beam us that one.
Okay. It was probably the most adventurous thing we've ever done. I think it's one of my favorite stories because it's just so ridiculous. Like foreign country, foreign language, 2 wheels that you're not used to, riding in the rain. It was awesome. We'll get a bike when the kids get a little bit older, but the 4-wheeler made so much more sense because all 4 of us can hop on that thing and ride around the property and stuff. Nice. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, I did something similar. Me and a college buddy decided that we were going to get motorcycles and ride from Ecuador to Patagonia. And I'd never ridden any sort of motorized bicycle before. And so I was up in Alaska, like river guiding for a bit. And this one kid who was like our neighbor bought a street bike, like a 600 Ninja or something. And he was like, oh, sure, dude, go ahead and learn on this thing. Hopped on it. My buddy's only advice was, you've driven a stick shift car and ridden a bicycle before, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're good then. And like just sent me out into the city with the stupid street bike. Like 2 days later, ended up managing to flip the thing off the road and into a swamp. And then I flew to South America like 2 days later to buy a bike and try to get down there. And my buddy ended up crashing his within like the first 60 miles and totally destroyed his knee and had a bunch of stitches. So we hobbled our way through South America after that.
Oh my gosh. I remember the name Ninja. Aren't those like one of the fastest bikes at one point in time? Like,
yeah,
you just like touch the throttle and you're ripping.
Yeah. Those sketchy little crotch rockets. That thing was so much fun. I'd ride that. But yeah, they're ridiculous. You just know you're gonna die when you're on one, though. You just feel it.
Yeah, I don't need that. If I ever get a bike, it's going to be an enduro so that I can not safely ride on the highway. I just can only ride it around town and commuting.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know too many people have gotten hurt or killed on motorcycles. It's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Seriously, so dangerous, especially on the highway. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if you guys, I mean, unless you guys have another story you guys want to riff on, I think this is a pretty good length. We can probably call it.
Dude, sounds good. Yeah, I got all that I needed off my chest. Great therapy session. Thank you.
Oh man, I was cracking my ass off. That was very comical. Well, Levin, Tilden, thanks for coming on. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I'll talk to you guys later.
Heck yeah,
Absolutely.
man. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having us.
much.
Thank you for listening to the High Quality Fun podcast. If you guys enjoyed this show, please give us a follow. And if you have a good story or just want to say hi, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram or YouTube. Thanks for listening.